Hey everyone, welcome back to Niche Sports. And yes, it's the big day now. We've got the quarterfinals of Euro 2020, and as you can see, we've got an addition to the panel. As usual, we've got Akash joining in because it's Spain and he's wearing the Spanish jersey. But we've also got football presenter and commentator Suyash Upadhyay joining me, my very good friend. Welcome, Suyash. Very great to have you here.
Thanks, Nishad. Thank you so much.
Great. So, Akash, Yash, what we are going to do is we are going to talk about obviously today's two games. First is Switzerland versus Spain. Then we will move on to the next clash, which is Italy versus Belgium, which I think will be a bigger clash. But considering what the first two teams have gone through in the round of 16, we really can't put anything past these guys. So there's a lot of excitement in store right through the Euros, and this is what we love about this tournament. In that all these teams are so evenly matched that we've got a competitive game at almost every step. But first, let us start with Spain versus Switzerland, and we'll go team by team. So first, let me start with Spain. So Akash, Spain looking really good at the moment, and as we've got a few points that they have not lost to Switzerland in their previous 22 meetings. The last time they faced in a competitive tournament, these two teams, was in the 2010 World Cup, where Switzerland were the only team to beat Spain. And Switzerland have never gone past the quarterfinal stage in Euros or the World Cup. So quite a few numbers here for you. Spain, as we know, they had a tough fight in the quarterfinals. They've overcome that, and they've scored 5 goals in each of their previous two matches. So over to you, Akash.
Thanks a lot, Nishad. So I'll start off with Luis Enrique's quote on Switzerland. He said that they're at our level, without any doubt, because of the way they press and attack. They have a magnificent coach in Vladimir Petkovic, and they'll cause us a lot of problems. So Switzerland are on a high right now. They beat the world champions. They've beaten France, who I thought would win the Euros, but they are on a song right now, and then they have been playing some very good football. They have outplayed, and they have sort of cancelled out all the pundits and experts who said that Switzerland will be the minnows and will crash out in the group stage or the quarter or the pre-quarters. They have just cancelled all of that out, and they're playing some beautiful football right now. It's going to be a tough one to call for sure when it comes to these two teams, because I think both of them are in very good form at the moment. Especially with Switzerland, Seferovic, he's on a song right now. He's been scoring goals for fun, as we saw against France. So again, not going into the predictions. I'm not going to say which side is more likely to go through, but it does look like it's going to be an interesting contest.
It's definitely going to be an interesting contest. And Suyash, a team like Switzerland, considered minnows, the way they fought, the way they played that game has just lifted the nation, I would say. How much does that have a bearing coming into this game? Because nobody expected that. Now, are there expectations, or they will again go in with the attitude that, look, we've got nothing to lose?
Look, Nishad, of course it does have a bearing because it's international football and it's an international football tournament. At the end of the day, it's a different ball game when you enter the knockout stages as well, because you have this momentum of support and solidarity that comes behind any country whenever they're in. So in that respect, yes, it will make a difference. Spain are more experienced in big games like these, so there might be an argument to make about them being a little more experienced on how to handle such a big occasion. One thing that does go in favor of Spain, in particularly with regards to this game, is the absence of Granit Xhaka. Now, Xhaka had a spectacular game when Switzerland beat France in the last game, and many Arsenal fans were questioning him on his performance and wondering where the Xhaka was when he plays for Arsenal. But his absence, because he's missing out on this game, and the way he controlled the game against France, is going to play into Spain's hands, because Spain like to attack from the middle. They like to open up opponents. So whoever's replacing Xhaka in midfield will have to do a job wherein he understands the gameplay as well as Xhaka does, and also covers ground at the same time, because Spain have this wild style of football to them, almost imaginative in any and every position. So that's going to be a big factor in my opinion today.
Apologies for that. You spoke about imaginative football, and they've got their way of playing the game. Akash, Suyash, an opinion on, from both of you. That was criticized. The whole passing system was criticized during the 2018 World Cup. But it seemed to work even better in this Euro, especially in the last game where they were very clinical and attacking. Morata, in particular, in terms of the way he lifted himself, that was something for Spain. So, Akash, you start, and then Suyash, you can take it on after that.
Definitely, and as we've seen in this tournament, most of the teams they start the games a little slower. They tend to study the opponent first in the first few minutes, and then as the game progresses, they open up a little, and that is how eventually the game plays out. And then most of the goals that have been scored in the tournament have been either in the second half or in case in the last round of 16 they have been in the extra time. So Spain will enjoy a lot of possession, I'm sure, but Switzerland are equally good with handling that. As we saw against France, they are keeping they're good at keeping their possession at bay. It doesn't matter how much possession the opponents enjoy against Switzerland. So I think again it's going to be a good contest. It'll be interesting to see how Spain break them down. And as pointed out by my friend here, he said that Chaka is not playing. It's a big miss for Switzerland. I think Freuler will be replacing him in the midfield. So he said he's ready for the challenge against Busquets, and Seferovic is in that hot form. You would expect him to score against any opposition given the form he is in. So as far as I'm concerned, I think Spain will dominate possession, and it's up to Switzerland how they set themselves up. Perhaps they will try to score on the counter. They'll try to score on set pieces. But definitely, majority of the ball possession can be expected that Spain will have it, and they'll enjoy more of the possession.
Yeah, Suyash, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Akash, in the sense that Spain will enjoy a majority of the possession, but it's that two-edged sword, isn't it? Because in the last couple of years, Spain have found it tough to break down teams that tend to sit deep, and it's a trend we're seeing worldwide in football now, where possession-based football is slowly being sussed out and found out, and teams are finding out ways to counter that. You only need to look as far as the first two games that Spain played in the tournament against Sweden and Poland, which were both draws, and they only sort of started to find their groove in the game against Slovakia, which they won 5-0. So if Spain can't capitalize on the chances they get early on, there might be a sense of that sinking. Call it deja vu, or call it that pattern which they fall into, where there's a lot of good and pretty passing, but when it comes to that final third, they're just not able to find the cutting pass or that leads to the goal on a few occasions. So Spain need to come out of the blocks all guns blazing, need to score early in the game, and if they don't manage to do that, it'll only play to Switzerland's advantage as the game goes on.
Yeah, one of our viewers, Yasho, has written that Xhaka will be a huge miss for Switzerland. Without him, Spain will have a walk in the park in the middle of a pitch. So he's already said, what's going to happen. I know it's a big loss, and that's what even our experts have noted here. But now let's move on to the next game, which is Belgium versus Italy. And now that Portugal, Germany, France are out of the tournament, a lot of people are saying Italy are the favorites. But at the moment, you've got Belgium, who have got their golden generation, and they have also the potential to go all the way. You've got a man machine. I like to call him a man machine, Lukaku up front, because there's hardly anyone who can sort of match his pace, and he's just a delight to watch when he's on song. Kevin De Bruyne may be injured, but they've got enough strength in that lineup. Suyash, why don't you go first?
I'm glad you mentioned Lukaku, Nishad, because in my opinion, he's going to be the difference maker between the two sides today. For me, it looks set for Italy to sort of take the game, but we'll come to Italy a little later, more on Belgium before that. You spoke about the golden generation. You spoke about how most of the team has remained the same for the last few years, so to speak. So you had players like Company at the start of this golden generation who sort of, retired after that, but the core of the team still remains the same. They still haven't won a major international trophy though, and that is something that will weigh on their backs. They almost have have a England golden generation feel about them right now, wherein there are so many players stacked in every position, but somehow when it comes the time to deliver, they somehow don't manage to go over the line. They reached the World Cup semi-final also. They will know that this is their last chance as a group to make an impact and succeed as a country, but they're against Italy. And the fact is that it sort of plays into Italy's hands because they're playing some very free flowing football. They're playing good football. They'll also have Chiellini back. And that will be
Yes.
massive in dealing with the threat of Lukaku. So I'm really looking forward to that Chiellini and Lukaku battle. And Lukaku will be the difference maker if Belgium is to win in this game.
I would have at one point I would have loved to see Cannavaro take on Lukaku if they were in the same era, that is. But Akash, same thing, golden generation, but against Italians who have found their mojo now because they're playing without any hang-ups. They've had in recent times world events or big events have not been very memorable for them. Your thoughts on that?
Well, we've spoken enough, I think, about the golden generation, but I think before the tournament, if I am not wrong, Italy were being called the dark horses, and the way they've played, it doesn't look like they're the dark horses anymore. Also, on a separate yet related note, this has been a tournament of right-footed left backs, if you've noticed. Most of the teams have deployed these attacking wing backs on either side with three centre backs behind those wing backs. So, not incidentally, both flanksmen in question, Italy's Spinazzola and Belgium's Thorgan Hazard, happen to be the team's most influential players in the tournament. And Spinazzola's pace has been something that I have been taken aback by. With all due respect to AS Roma and Italian football, I have not been following him for a long time. So he has been one of the players of the tournament for me. And even Thorgan Hazard, his tricky movements and the way he just cruises past his markers is something that I was not expecting at all from them. So, and then the goal he scored, we thought it was Eden Hazard, but later on we realized it's Thorgan, it's a brother. So it's going to be key the way the wing backs play in this game as well, and as we've seen in the tournament. So you could see a lot of crosses coming in from the left, from the right, of course, from the wing backs, and I feel that is where one of the goals will also come from.
Right, and I will take you through a few facts and stats. Italy have reached the quarterfinal stage of 4 tournaments in a row in the Euro. The previous 3 have all been decided by penalty shootout, losing twice and winning once. Now, obviously, we remember 2012, they went into the finals where they were beaten by a very good Spanish side. Now, since Roberto Martinez has become manager, Belgium have scored 175 goals, which is most by any country in Europe. And Belgium have qualified for the quarterfinals by beating Portugal 1-0. Italy beat Austria 2-1 in extra time. And this is the 5th meeting between Italy and Belgium in a tournament. They have won 3 and drawn 1. This is, I think, Italy, they have won 3. And they are unbeaten against Belgium in in these tournaments. So history as such on Italy's side here. And, that may be also the fact that Italy, though they've got a youngish team, still at the same time, they've possibly got the history of dealing with big events a lot better than Belgium. So, Yash, is that building on your point as well?
Yeah, and they're due one now, aren't they? It's been a while since they won a major international trophy. And it's not like Italy, it's not a David versus Goliath situation where you have, fine, Belgium may be the number 1 ranked team in the world, but now they're up against an Italian side where the players in their individual capacities have had good seasons with their clubs. They've found this team spirit and solidarity that almost always seem to exist in Italian sides. They've got the weight of history, but there weren't so many expectations on Italy coming into the tournament, which will now, of course, rise because of how well they've done. But because they have that heritage and that history and that momentum going behind them, I kind of fancy Italy in this one, and it's going to end in tears for Belgium once again.
Okay, now Suyash has made the call. Now, last time Akash and I were making predictions, we got them horribly wrong because that's what Spain and Croatia produced that ripper of a contest, followed by France and Switzerland. So amazing!
That I called one of the games rightly, actually.
Yeah, you did. But it's taught us we can't. But anyways, I will throw it open to you again. Give me your predictions, Akash. You first, then followed by Suyash.
Sure. So before I move on to the prediction part, there's one interesting fact that I just noticed. It's Roberto Mancini against Roberto Martinez. Roberto Mancini, if I'm not wrong, in the 2013 FA Cup final, played against Roberto Martinez, who was,
His Wigan
I think,
side.
he was Wigan manager then, and then it was the FA Cup final. So he meets him again. Both of the managers are now meeting each other, although in a different capacity, in a different tournament. This I think this time around, Martinez might have that upper hand. So it's so tough to call, but I do think since Italy have defensively been very astute in this tournament, it will be tough for Belgium to break them down. So it might just be the Italians going through.
Okay, and for Spain versus Switzerland.
Spain against Switzerland, it's equally tough to call, but given that Spain have been playing some beautiful football, they have been scoring goals for fun. They've scored 10 in the last two games. So I'm going for a Spain victory here.
Perfect. Suyash, over to you.
I'm with Akash on that one. I will go for a Spain victory. I will refrain from making any specific score predictions to insulate myself from any kind of feedback that might come my way later. But Spain to win against Switzerland and Italy to win 1-0. That game has a 1-0 feel all over it, in my opinion. It's going to be 1-0 either side, but it's going to be Italy today.
Right, fantastic. Thanks, guys. It was really great to have you. And everyone, yes, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, press the bell icon for all the updates, and follow us on all the social media platforms. And yes, do enjoy today's quarterfinals. We'll be back again tomorrow. And we look forward to having you again. Bye bye.